Back to the hustings of 2014. Can I get a cheer from the left? Cheer from the right? Yeah, that's more like it. So we've had some hotting up in the debate for the presidential candidates. We've had loads of interest on Twitter using the hashtag #SurreyDecides. But we now have time for the VP societies and individual development. Now this person will be in charge of societies, providing opportunities for students to do what they want to do. They'll provide and facilitate training, help with events, and elements like society finances. So before I welcome Alan to the stage to share that debate, I've got a few more jokes that have come in. What has one horn and gives milk? And I promise you it's not rude. It's a milk truck. Yeah. What do you call a broken angle? It's a rectangle. Yeah? For the maths people in the room. And what kind of bird sticks to jumpers? Velcro. Yeah, they're getting better. So I'd like to welcome to the stage Alan Sutherland.
Various things in student unions that give you complete reassurance, and the sight of Mike Fraser is one of them. Mike, you're like a pair of comfy slippers. It's lovely to have you here. I'll just open up my Surface RT, beautifully handcrafted by Microsoft, and you too could be the proud owner of one if you vote in the elections, which is what this is all about. Right, here we are, and you want to hear about VP Society's candidates, and they've all said something on video, and now they're going to share it with you. It's like the end of Murder, She Wrote.
The candidates for Vice President, Societies and Individual Development, Betty Kelly.
Hi, I'm Betty and I'm running for VP Societies, and I think I'd be perfect for the job because I've wanted it since freshers and I have done everything I can.
Demetrios Lazaridis. Lewis Perry.
Hi, my name is Lewis Perry and I'm running for VP Societies and Individual Development. I'll be ideal for the job as my passion for every student and society will help each society thrive.
Andy Plum.
Hi guys, my name's Andy and I'm running for VP Societies and ID. I believe in three things: inclusion, collaboration and support.
Musty Smith.
My name's Musty and I'm running for VP Societies and Individual Development. I think I'll be great for the role because I love helping people.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the stage the candidates for VP Societies and Individual Development. If I didn't know any better, I think that all these credit for Stag Media has been slightly undermining Stage Crew's confidence, and they've just proven why they're there to make the light and the sound happen. So well done, Stage Crew. Thank you very much. Right, get yourself settled while I just remind the audience and those viewers at home what happens is the candidates have a question that they have seen and you have not, so they have had a chance to rehearse their answer. Are we all in position? Lovely. And to open this, I'm going to go from left to right. I shall start with Musty, finish with Betty. You all know the question, but for those of you at home, do we have too many societies with similar aims? For example, MadSoc, Musical Theatre and Theatre Society, or the Baking Society and the Culinary Society? Do we have too many societies with similar aims? For example, MadSoc, Musical Theatre and Theatre Soc, or indeed the Baking Society and the Culinary Society? Musty.
Hi everyone, my name is Musty. Just in case my mum's watching. Hi mum. When I got this question, I didn't quite like it because it says, do all societies have similar aims? Now for me, I think all societies should have similar aims simply because I'm sure every society wants to do well. That will be an aim for the year. I think every society will want to engage their members, so that should be an aim. Every society will also probably want to get either bronze, silver or gold in the STARS criteria. That should be an aim. So in that respect, all societies should have the same aim. But what I think the question is more implying for me is, do like, do these societies with similar aims, like, is there any point in them existing? That's what I feel the question is implying. I don't know whether that is what it's implying, but that's what I feel. And I think that, personally, societies may have similar aims, but it's important to highlight the word similar, not the same. Now, what I mean by that is, let's take, for example, I think the examples given are Mad Sock, musical theatre, and theatre sock. Their aims will be specific to what it is that makes them different. So because of that, that then doesn't mean that they shouldn't exist as a society. If they had the same aims, then I would be like, okay, maybe there's some way of putting them together. And I know that when societies are ratified, it comes to society standing. Every single person that wants to ratify a society must give a reason as to why this society should be put forward. And all the presidents of all the existing societies will look at this and say, is there a point for this society to exist? The reason that, I mean, looking at Mad Sock, musical theatre, and theatre sock existing, and there are members that are part of these different societies, it's clear that these societies exist separately from each other, and just because they have similar aims doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to hinder them from doing what they need to do, which is represent their students.
I must urge you for some brevity in your answer here.
Okay.
If you could come to a conclusion.
Okay, I was just coming. Sorry, guys, I like to speak a lot. But yeah, societies have similar aims, but it doesn't hinder them from providing what they need to do for their members.
Thank you, and that's all we have time for tonight.
Sorry, guys, kind of spoke for a bit long. Sorry about that.
Andy, do we have too many societies with similar aims? Yada yada yada.
Hi, I'm Andy. Absolutely not, in my opinion. I think that the examples given, Mad Sock, musical theatre sock, and theatre sock, are completely different societies. And I'm going to justify this by saying that theatre society is a departmental society whose aims are related to improving the experience of a theatre studies student and helping students who are on different courses to experience life as a theatre studies student. Mad Sock, on the other hand, do a variety of shows over the whole year that are affordable, that are fun, that anyone can get involved in. And Musical Theatre Society specialise in one big, all-encompassing performance with a big cast and big production values. So I think that that example is flawed for that reason.
Oh, well, why can't Mad Sock and musical theatre do the same thing? They aren't incompatible. That could be done by one society.
Yeah, because in my view, competition is really important and helps societies to develop. Why don't Windows and Apple combine? Because they use each other to spur on their improvement and to produce lovely Windows Surface tablets. I'm so sorry. So that's my reasoning. If they merged, we would lose the opportunity to say that Surrey has 3 big theatrical performance-based societies. We'd have to say we had 2. And I think it's better to have more, and it's better to have more shows, more committees, more people involved, and to use the competition to spur on bigger member counts.
Okay. Lewis. I do apologise. I never checked that. Lewis.
Okay, I think that there are a lot of societies that have similar aims. When we take the example, Mad Sock, musical theatre, and theatre sock, all of them are similar. They all aim to produce productions, entertain students, public, do something they're passionate about. I think if we combine all 3 of these societies together, it will be financially and time-wise impossible. Each of these societies take a lot of time to work on their productions, work not just throughout the year, but also they plan ahead permanently. They're always thinking what can be done next. This can't be done if you're looking to do a variety of performances. Theatre sock specialises in something, Mad Sock something else, musical theatre another area. This then, as individual societies, can appeal to a wide variety of audiences, get diverse members and audience involved. When we're looking at other societies in general, we take international societies. They're all there to experience their own culture, bring their culture to the other students of Surrey. So they've got a similar aim, but they're all different. They all appeal to someone different. They all showcase something different. It's the same with political and campaign societies. You have Marrow and Copperfield. They're both pushing their own message, but it's completely different. So yes, they're same, but they all have their own point and their own place within the student union.
Thank you. One feels a theme developing here. I wonder if our final two candidates are going to buck the trend. Demetrius?
Yes, thank you very much. Mostly I will agree with the previous answers. The thing is that those societies indeed share common themes. However, since those societies are separate, that means that they have different goals and different perceptions of what they are doing. We should embrace the diversity of our societies and promote them. We cannot force the members of those societies to merge, because at the end of the day, what matters, everyone that involved in each society to be happy. Because this is the point of the societies, to make them, excuse me for my voice, to make them to understand that it's very important to be a part of a society. It's very important for them to do a volunteering job. So if they decide at the beginning to be separate society, that means they are going to be more creative in this society, they like more, and they will think more outside the box without rules that making if they are going to merge. So I think if they are separate, they will be more concise of what they are doing, they will be more happy with what they are doing, and they will be better in what they are doing. This is my opinion.
Thank you. And finally, Betty.
Okay, hi. I know it says Bethany down there, but it is Betty, but never mind. Okay, so whilst I totally appreciate the need for a question like that, because I suppose unless you're involved in those particular societies, they can seem quite similar with similar aims to the rest of us. But I think the fact that you have two separate societies, however similar they are to us, if they've both got active members who take a keen interest in the society, then clearly there's a need for it for them. And at the end of the day, for me, societies are there for students. They're not there for other people to think, oh, it's too similar, we can't have those two. So if the students are happy with those societies being there, then there's need for them. And I don't think there are too many societies with similar aims. And I think I can personally relate to this just because I started up Baking Society. And I remember a few people at my society ratification asking me if they thought it was too similar to Culinary Society. But to me and to the members involved to this day, completely different. And I'm so glad we got the chance to start up the society. So that's my answer.
Okay, I'm going to be bold here, and I'm going to say that there isn't a cigarette paper between your opinion on that so far, and it actually will be very different when it comes to you sitting down with your red pen and dividing £14,000 between 60 societies, 70 societies, 80, 85. Andy, you mentioned the concept of competition. You know, at what point do you let a society fail? At what point do you stand up with the society's exec and say, no, we are not going to ratify this society? You know, you're a VP, you do have to make tough decisions. So my question to you is, at what point do you reject the ratification of a society, and at what point do you let a society fail? Betty.
Okay, so I think for a society to not be ratified or for it to fail, it's obviously got to sort of fail at certain criteria. I mean, you know, if a society is getting ratified and it's a really extreme idea for a society like a feather plucking society of local pigeons, I don't know, that's just an example. That's the only thing I could think of. Obviously, that's not something that's going to be well received by everybody. It's something that's going to be very unpopular. It's a very extreme society idea. So I think...
If there's 20 students that want to do that, who are you to deny them that? According to your last answer, you know, if students want it, let's have it. Let's have more of it.
Well, I think that common sense and sort of the kind of society that's going to be started up and whether or not it's a good idea is something that's not... I mean, the way we run society ratifications right now is it isn't just my opinion alone. It is down to the other societies, and it is something that they get ratified in. So as much as you're saying it's completely my decision, the truth is in the role it isn't completely my decision.
No, what I'm saying is, at what point do you oppose the ratification of a society? And I tell you now, the weight of the VP societies in opposing a ratification carries a lot of sway within society's exec.
Okay, so like I said before, I think if it is my call, if you're saying that it is my call in some cases, and not.
But I don't want to seem as if I'm picking on you.
No, you're not.
Thank you.
It's okay. I think that, I've got common sense at the end of the day, like I said, and if a society is too wacky an idea, even if there are 20 people, that think that it's totally right and totally fair, if to me, and I'm a reasonable person, if to me it is completely unacceptable, then that is when I would put my foot down and say, no, I'm sorry, I think that's a really bad idea. But I would always explain. I wouldn't just, refuse an idea. I would explain why. I would try and make you understand why.
Dimitris, at what point would you oppose the ratification of a society? At what point would you let a society fail?
Could the question be rephrased?
Societies exec, any group of students can come up with a new idea for a society. They get 20 signatories. It then goes to the mass meeting of the society's exec. At what point would you stand up and say, I oppose the idea of having this society?
Yes.
Your previous answer said you don't mind having lots and lots of very similar societies. So where do you draw the line? And at what point do you say, I'm sorry, you're just not good enough, you're not cutting the mustard, you can no longer be a society and you will now be dormant?
Yes, a really good question. The thing is, I wouldn't ever be in a position to reject or be opposed to any society creation, a new society creation, because I really believe it's very important to have a society, as many as society as we can, but there is a line. Always there should be a line in everything. This is the thing we will do. Okay, the fact will be in two facts. Their ideology and also the amount that union has to split between the societies. So we must make sure that there are enough money to split between society, so we could create new society. I will came to this question just to this answer, but before to do this, we should think how union could redirect this money that is have to, when the union has the money to split to the societies, the union must redirect those money. For example, smaller society, union helps more smaller societies for fundraising that are not self-funding. So we must help smaller societies. We must encourage bigger societies, help smaller societies to do events together, to have self-funding, so then the money that will be left, we could redirect for a creation of new societies. If those new societies will attract more people to engage with a society role and a volunteering role. And I think this will be very productive for everyone. But yes, indeed, there is a line always, and we must see if the society is a common well, with a common aims that will help the students. If yes, I wouldn't say no to this society.
Okay, thank you very much. We may come back to the point of diminishing resources later on. Lewis, at what point do you draw the line on society ratification, and when would you put a society dormant?
I think when you're looking at society ratification, you need to take into consider what actually the society wants to do. Every society that comes forward that wants to be ratified will have their own action plan and what they aim to do as a society. If this is the fact that they have similar aims, so you take back to the example of musical theatre and MadSoc. Say if that came forward now and you had a society that came forward that wanted to do exactly the same as what musical theatre are doing and MadSoc, it wouldn't be feasible as you'd be splitting the members from both them societies, and what would they actually do? Would they be able to actually function as a society, get anything done? When looking at when a society would fail, and it's a hard decision you have to make, but if a society isn't having any members come in, isn't forming any sessions, isn't doing anything within the year, maybe that is the point. If you can't get a committee together, it's a hard decision, but should they still carry on or not? That is a decision which has to be made at the time, but it is something that is going to be hard, but sometimes it has to be done.
Okay, Andy?
Yeah, really interesting question. I think, when do we say a society is failing? Well, when the members think it's failing, when the members aren't enthused, when the members aren't getting enough events, when the member count is dropping because the overall interest in the society is dropping, then we can start to say this is going downhill. In terms of ratification, the students have a voice here, and that can't be forgotten. Every society is ratified in a society standing, and I think if enough students are interested in the society, and if it gets enough credit at society standings, and if all of the facts are put on the table, then to say no to a society that the students wanted will be to undermine the student voice.
Rusty.
Hi, guys. For me, in terms of ratification of a society, for me, it goes back to my previous example of the word similar. If these societies are coming in and they have similar aims to other societies, and it's voted by all the presidents of these societies in the ratification that it should exist as a society, then they should have the right to exist as a society. However, as Lewis pointed out, I agree with his point, whereby if they're coming in with the same exact aims and objectives, the budget is so, there's only so much of the budget that can go towards societies. So if you have a society that comes in and they have the exact same aims and objectives as another society, then it doesn't make sense to allow them to be ratified simply because they're cutting on the resources that could be better allocated. In terms of letting a society fail, it's all down to representation of the students. At the end of the day, societies are there for the students. If the students don't feel the society is doing well, if they can't even get up to 10 members at their AGM, which is the minimal requirement, if the society members are complaining and saying this society is rubbish and they're no longer attending the events, then that's the point where we say, is this society needed? Is there a demand for this society? If there isn't, and they're not doing what they're supposed to, then at that point you can say, all right, let's cut this society off and give the resources to the necessary societies that need it, that are active and doing what they need for their members.
Okay, you mentioned AGMs there. I remember a couple of years ago, Pressure failed to meet the deadline to make an AGM. An extremely popular society. Lots of people want to be a part of it. Every other, well, not every other society, most other societies managed to meet the deadline. Pressure didn't. They were cut. Was that the right thing to do? Was that fair to everybody else? Yes or no will do.
Can you rephrase the question, please?
So a society fails to meet the administrative deadline that everybody else does, a popular society, but they don't do what everybody else manages to do. Is it fair to make that society dormant? And I'm looking for a yes or no.
Yes.
Demetrius?
I think yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
We've got huge disagreement breaking out on this panel tonight. Oh, right. Let's look at the manifestos. Betty, I read yours here and I think, what does Betty want to do? I have no idea. I am looking at a CV, Betty. You're talking here about you've got reliability, experience, approachability, creativity and humour. But you do say nothing about what you want to do. What do you actually want to achieve in your year?
Can I just ask, so are you asking for just a proper example of what I'd want to change if I got the role?
Well,
Can I say that?
The voters here are looking at this to say, what is Betty going to do for societies if I vote for her? And all we're getting is stuff about you as a CV. There is nothing about what you would actually do, what you would actually achieve as VP societies.
Okay, so I think the main thing I'd want to... I've been a society exec for the last year, so I've done a lot of sort of research and feedback from societies to find out what they want. And admittedly, in my manifesto, I've not gone into much detail, in fact, any detail about it, because I find it quite difficult to put into words on paper. But basically, I think the main thing I'd want to bring to the system is a change in communication between VP and the societies themselves. I think that, sort of in short, at the moment, it relies on an email system alone, and I don't think the communication is at its peak. I don't think it's the way it should be between societies and VP. I think, and that's the feedback I've had from everybody as well, it takes a long time sometimes for VP to be able to respond to societies, and that's a huge part of the job. So can I give an example of how
Well, how would you communicate other than by email?
Oh, okay. Well, I thought of an idea, actually, and I've told a few societies about this, and it's been well received, so I'll tell you. You know Surrey, I'm sure everybody here does know that. It's just an example I'm going to give. They use a discussion board on there. That's how you communicate with your peers and your lecturers. And the idea I've thought of is to implement something similar to that, a discussion board, a question board type thing, for societies to use and for VP to respond to. You could have categories, you know, website issues, events, AGMs, finance, whatever it may be, to post questions on there as part of the society, and VP to respond to it. The two bonuses, I think, of this is just that it's a really efficient way to highlight an issue quickly, and to highlight that you need communication from your VP quickly. And in addition to that, all other societies can see it, because quite often more than one society will have the same kind of issue, and this way it's on there all the time, so you can refer to that as well. So it just makes things a lot more efficient.
Okay, thank you. Demetrius, I'm looking here, and you talk an awful lot about close supervision. And also, by the way, you don't have to answer to me. I can't vote. You can address the audience. Just every time you look at me, we lose you on the audio, so you're fine to face forward. You mentioned close supervision several times in your manifesto. You describe how you're going to get directly involved in every society, supervising and training the smaller societies to develop their memberships. You also talk about your experience in running the biggest society on campus. So would you say that you see yourself as superior to those students that run smaller societies?
Of course not. And this is the reason that, of course not, I didn't want to...
Please face the audience.
Yes. If you read my manifesto, the reason, only one point I put, I'm running the biggest society of this university for the last 4 years. I'm in this university since 2009. The only reason that I put this is just to make the people to believe on me because of my experiences. I've been a lot of things running this society. And be honest, running the Greek society, and as you know, Greeks, you know, we are not so good with the time, we are not so good, I don't know. We are thinking out of the box all the time, and you cannot put like a dog, you know, and handle them. So yeah, it was really challenge. It was really challenge to me. This was the only reason that I put this. As it was in my manifesto, the close supervision, what I'm going to do, and what reason, and if I thought for any, not just generally, I put closer supervision. I thought because running this society, always I had a need of help, always, and sometimes I didn't get this help. And this is the reason that I want to help small society. And I am helping already small societies. For example, self-funding. Societies, what societies, small societies are not doing, they are not doing events. Do you know why? They are afraid, because if they are going to book one event in campus, they will not make the money. So this is the reason they are not doing the events. And what I mean by this, do cooperation. I've done with the Russian society cooperation. The Nepali society came to me. I told them, I will help you. We will do with cooperation with the Greek, Cypriot society. It will be on our name, so you don't have to fear. Just move on. This is the thing. The other thing, when I'm doing my events, always I put for international people, not only Greeks, for home students, British people, international people, with a group, if they are coming with a group, a discount. I want to bring more people. We are 39 best international university in the world. We have so many international people. We must bring all together. We must work together. And the cooperation that I put here, we are 100 societies, yes. Closer supervision. How you will do this? Yeah. My main goal is to to make groups of the societies. For example, the national societies, academic, I'm a civil engineering student, academic societies, then artistic societies, yes. MATSOC, all these societies must be together with other societies. Till now we have MATSOC and the rest of societies. We must come close to these people. They're artistic people, creative people. We need them, they need us. For example, how we'll do this? Separating them putting them into groups and then closes. I don't mind to stay 1 hour more after my working hours, help the people, closing supervision, speaking with the leaders. This is the most important, and those leaders of each society will speak to their members, and this we can do a really good job.
Thank you very much, Dimitris. How nice. Every other candidates, you know, applauding each other. You won't be doing that on Friday night, I tell you that. Lewis, you described wanting to establish a more original Freshers' Fair for each society and the idea of personalised fairs. Can you clarify whether you are suggesting that we have a separate Freshers' Fair for every society? How do you propose that this will work?
It's not to make an individual Freshers' Fair for each society. The idea came from when talking to different societies about what Freshers' Festival would be and what it actually entailed. It was they thought and believed it to be a more personal, hands-on environment and approach where all societies of similar, so for example, political and campaigning, arts, departmental, would be together and could have a chance to not compete or challenge each other, but they'd be in a closed environment where members and students could go and trial each society without having to travel across campus. For example, Freshers' Festival took place on a Saturday and Sunday evening with events which did clash, so that people couldn't go to both events.
Lewis, I have to tell you, I'm struggling to understand what you're saying here.
Okay, so what I do with this is to keep Freshers' Fair as it is, keep Freshers' Fair as an event by itself. You had the marquee on Patsfield. To then take on a smaller idea, take each society as a collective, so you have departmental, international, political and campaigning, have them in an environment such as in Rubik's where they can showcase what they do to the students in a more hands-on approach where the students can go between each society, get a chance to experience all the societies together, whereas sometimes with Freshers' Festival you couldn't experience this because they were running at the same time. And I feel a lot of students said that they weren't able to go and see the societies they wanted to because they were running at the same time. I feel...
Hang on a minute. You say here that you want to develop the relationship and the growth between each society, and you know you want everybody to love each other, and now you want to segregate them all and put them in another little pigeonhole in Freshers' Week.
Not necessarily segregate them, but give them the chance as each sector to show up what they are. It's because we categorise each society in different groups. We have the arts, we have the political and campaigning. Of course, we want all the societies to work together and become a community, but it is important to keep them as their separate entities as well. Well,
I put it to you that those two ideas are incompatible.
I see it not as. I see they're two different things. The Freshers' Fair can be something that comes at the beginning of the year. It is something that can start at the beginning of the year, can then be re-established after Freshers' Fair, whereas to work with each society to focus their strengths and relationships can be something that can continue throughout the year. This can come through not just getting involved, going to see the societies, but also through status meetings. These are already established. These can be developed further. By getting involved, by seeing the societies and the students that are involved in these societies, we can find out how to develop the societies, which I personally see as two separate, completely different events.
Thanks very much. Andy, let's have a little look at your manifesto here. I really want to get to the bottom of this campaign turtle. Are you trying to suggest that you're going to stay inside your shell all year and move very slowly?
No, but that's a reading I hadn't considered. I think the important thing about Tucker, the turtle... Can we be serious, please? is that he's smiling.
Unlike the candidates, according to Twitter.
Yeah, I'm smiling.
But yeah, he's smiling. And for me, Tucker, the turtle, represents friendship. And friendship is a part of unity. And so I think that by having this friendly mascot, Tucker, I can help to represent what I want to do, which is bring unity. So, sorry if you don't like him. He's very hurt.
He's entirely fictional, Andy.
Maybe in your mind, Alan.
Musty. Musty, you talk about diversity on your manifesto. You say that you aim to continue to encourage societies to collaborate with each other where possible and celebrate diversity so that individuals are provided with a platform to showcase their talents and possibly develop a new skill by trying something new. We already have a One World Week celebrating diversity and Surrey's Got Talent Night, which was a big success. So really you're just saying more of the same, please.
I wouldn't say I'm saying more of the same. For me, that point was more development of what's already been done. So pushing that to the next level. I know that last year we didn't have Surrey's Got Talent, and Maz came in and introduced it, and it went really well. People had an opportunity to perform in a way that they wouldn't have performed before. I think the way I understand it, there was someone who played the spoons, and he wouldn't have had the platform. Oh, are you in the building? Hey, spoons guy. Sorry, what's your name? I don't want to be rude. I'm Mikey. Hey, Mikey. Everyone give a round of applause for Mikey. He played the spoons.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. I'll tell you when to chair this debate. Now shut up and get back to the question.
Yeah, so what I mean by that is that was an amazing opportunity for him to play the spoons. There's no spoons playing society. So it's just...
They're too similar to musical theatre.
It's just an opportunity for him to do something he wouldn't have had an opportunity to do. So it's just about building on what's already been done and pushing that forward and seeing how I can take that to the next level. I wouldn't be able to say how I do that right now because I'm not in the role. I haven't discussed it with my team. Well, if I do get elected, we'd have to discuss it and see how we can push it further. But that's essentially what I mean.
Thanks very much. That's some information on the candidates and the manifestos. Thank you. Now is the time for you to ask these questions. This is to help you decide. You've been sitting there whooping and cheering and listening intently. Now is the time to throw your hand in the air, like you just do care. Hello, 2 hands up at the same time there. Our Macordio phone is making its way over.
Hello. To everyone on the panel, is that allowed?
Yes, of course.
Could you tell us what involvement you've had with societies in your time at Surrey and what skills you may have from them that you could use as this role?
So we want a bit of a CV question. We want to know what your involvement has been in society so far. I'm gonna combine that with another question. I think, Leonie, there was one over there. Yes, there we are. Yeah, we'll come to you in a second. I'm really sorry, I can't see anything.
When I was elected as a treasurer of a society at the end of last year, when we started this year, last year's committee had left us with £2,500 of debt, which was very difficult to recover from. As VP societies, will you do anything to prevent this from happening? And if it does happen, what help will you give?
Good point. May I ask which society? I can ask, but you won't tell me. There was a question over here in the back. You have a question. Well, please fire away.
Thank you. So obviously you guys' role is VP societies and individual development. Let's not forget about that part. So I'd like to know, like, what area of the individual development, whether you've highlighted it in your manifestos or not, like, how are you going to promote that in the University of Surrey? Because you're not just VP societies, you're VP societies and individual development. 3
fantastic questions. Candidates, I'm looking for brief questions now here. We've spent an awful lot of time on your manifestos, so really, more than 30 seconds and we're going to start to cut you off. So, the first question was really much a CV question. What experience have you had in societies since coming here? The gentleman over there took over a society and found it £2,500 in debt. What can you do to help volunteers like him not end up in that situation in the future? And finally, this is societies and individual development. What are your views on individual student development? Musty, I'm going to start with you. I remind you, brevity, please.
Okay. In terms of involvement in societies at Surrey, last year I was the president of the African Caribbean Society. Oh, okay. Wasn't expecting that. We had a very great year, led a great committee, and it led us to being nominated as the best international society. And I was also nominated as best president, and that was an honor because it's based on people's opinions. It's not based on what we've actually, it's based on people's opinions of what we've done. So that's my experience in running societies. In terms of preventing societies from starting in minus, or for me, I've highlighted that in my manifesto as a more effective handover. What I want to introduce is a system whereby societies can write down what's gone well, what hasn't gone well, and pass that information on. And I want new societies to kind of have 3 years history of their society, of that report, before they set their objectives for the year. The spin-off from that will be they will learn how to probably manage their own funds better, and learn how to not make the mistakes that led to them being in minus. But it's also important to remember that societies are not-for-profit, as the student union is also not-for-profit. So as much as money is a bit of an issue, it shouldn't be the main issue. As long as you're providing for your members, then that should be it. But I want to introduce the handover process to kind of smoothen that out and keep societies sustainable and allow them to grow. In terms of what area of individual development I'll focus on, Alan, how am I doing with time?
You're doing well. Keep running.
Okay, that's good.
You're being brief. You're being to the point. Carry on.
Okay, in terms of individual developments, 2 things I want to do. One thing I want to do is bridge the gap between the career service and societies and students at the University of Surrey. At the moment, we are 8th in the UK. I would get everyone to cheer, but I'm on the clock. So I want to promote, I want to get students more involved in the career service, because they do so many amazing events and nobody really turns up to them. I introduced a careers position into the African Caribbean Society, and that's worked well this year. They had 3 career events last semester, and people have benefited from going to them. So I just want to find a way to bridge that gap between societies and the career service. And my second point is, I'm not sure if everyone's aware of the STARS reward system, but I'll briefly explain it. It's just gold, silver, bronze society. If you receive a gold, the committee of that society will have that printed on their transcripts, which is amazing. What I want to do is extend that to individuals within societies, so extend that to actual society members. So what that means is that you can either be, I'll use the example of ACS because I was ACS president, you can either be a bronze, silver, or gold member of ACS. If you can become a gold member of ACS, that will be, or I'll push for it to be printed on your transcripts. And in order to get there, there will be certain criteria points you'll have to pass. By passing those criteria points, you're almost indirectly pushing yourself to develop as an individual, because they'll be pushing you'll be pushed out of your comfort zone.
Okay.
So
all right.
That's it. I'm done. I'm done.
Great. Betty, let me just. Hooray! Very good. A bit of encouragement, we like that. Let's keep it for all the candidates. Betty, your CV, how you deal with the problem of a student arriving in the post in debt, and what you do for individual development.
Okay, so I'm in my final year now, but in my first year at uni, I started up Bake Sock with the help of a friend, and then I ran as president for the year, and it went really well. We raised a lot of money for charity, which was really, really good, many events, and we raised money with other societies like Enactus, called Cypher at the time. We worked with them quite a lot. We were really successful. We got nominated for Special Interest Society of the Year Award, so that was really, really good. And then that sort of progressed into my second year, and then the year that I've just been in the middle of right now, I got elected to be on the society exec team as Startup and Development Officer. And in doing this role, I've just basically helped loads of societies start up, from Harry Potter to Society to Debate Sock, which was in dormancy. So that's my experience. I've had to juggle many societies at once in this last year, and it's actually been really, really good. I've loved it. I've loved it very much. And okay, as for your question about the finance and the debt, I think that the phrase prevention is better than cure is really relevant to something like that. I just sort of think that monitoring how societies spend their money, to be honest with you, and being sort of like, as VP, being responsible in that way, if I'm doing my job well enough, which is what I'd obviously aim to do, then getting into situations like that shouldn't happen. So I think just sort of more monitoring of how societies are going to spend their money, what's it going to be for exactly, how are they going to do it, who is it they're spending their money with, and so on. The last question on individual development. So I think that, as you pointed out, it's not just for society, so I really want to stress that if I was elected for the role, individual development is not something I would focus on alone with regards to society members. I think it should be to any student here, whether or not they're a member of a society, to be honest with you. And I think the 2 ways I'd kind of implement working on individual development would be to firstly just invite students. I think it's not very clear sometimes in the role of VP Societies and ID that you are there for ID. I think that's why there's that sort of, that misses from the role a little bit. And so I think just reminding students that they can come to me for individual development in any way, you know, if they want to develop with careers, if they want to develop with personally, with their confidence and so on, come to me, and, you know, I'd suggest how to improve that, set a target for themselves and how to improve that. Whether it is joining a society, that might help them more. Another method.
Okay, I'm gonna pull that to a close now. Thank you very much, Betty. Andy, the three questions were, what have you done so far? How do you prevent the problem that this chap had about coming into society in debt? And what do you want to do for individual development?
Okay, experience. I'm currently the president of Theatre Society. When we joined, we had 15 members. We now have 50, and we're halfway through the year. We're also doing more shows than we were doing the year before with higher production values, and we've also improved our communication between our members. And overall, I think that our members are more satisfied now than they were the year before. I'm also a member of MadSoc, Musical Theatre Soc. I do a radio show on Stag Radio, and I'm beginning to get more involved now in StagTV. In terms of debt, I think preventative measures need to be addressed. We need to make sure this situation doesn't arise, because this is really very negative to the new committee coming in. They have to come in, and before they've even gotten started, they've got £2.5 grand to pay back, and that ain't good. So we need to make sure that preventative measures are put in place, more documentation, and more of a strict process for when a society invests in something, that we can address exactly what they're investing in, exactly how they're going to get their return on it, and exactly how that's going to improve member counts, because for every society, the member count should be, and is, the main source of income. Individual development. I think we cannot underestimate the value of face-to-face interaction. I'm not suggesting we go round and have a chat with 16,000 students, but I am suggesting that the VP Societies is more active on campus, goes round to more campus events, goes to a lot of society events, goes to shows, goes to parties, goes and speaks to people, and gets them involved in societies, because societies are our greatest tool for improving not only development, but also the student experience.
Thank you very much. Dimitris, briefly, your CV, how you deal with the debt problem, and what do you want to do for individual development?
Yes. Telling my CV will take 2 minutes.
Please, if you could condense that even further.
4 years experience. 3 times nominated as the best international society. Numerous events. 2-3 times a month. Charities. Worldwide recognition. Just 2 years ago, I sent around 2 tons of pasta with cooperation with Italy, which was by my members of Hellenic and Cypriot Society. We are in close cooperation. We help people. We also help a British family with a money, not big amount of money, but at least we gave them £600. I know it's something. We are not going to save the world, but as a society, and especially as a big society, we think that we have the responsibility to help everyone. Also, International Gala, always Greek and Cypriot societies have Greek food, which are preparing 1 week before. We're spending more than £1,000 for food for everyone, to see our culture, to see all these good things, and to know us better. Then, as it concerns the minus 2,000 that you started the society, I have started in 4 years president. I have started with minus 2,000. I have started with plus 2,000. I have started with 0. Indeed, there are ways that you can fix this. You can start with minus 2,000. My suggestion as a VP society, if I will be elected, you will come to me. I can tell you my experiences, but then what I will suggest you, events, more events. You are a small society, take the bigger societies, cooperate with them, make the events for the people. You don't have to make £7 entrance. You will have £3 entrance. More people, more engagement between all of us. We are as a family here. Always there are solutions. From minus 1,000, from minus 2,000, from minus 5,000, you can still handle it.
Okay, and
we will be here.
individual development, I'll push you on
As
that.
concerns the individual development, as you can see from my manifesto, and who didn't see yet, please read it. I put easy easy accessibility page. Yeah, there is a career service. How many of you went to career service? Most of you, many went, yeah. All my friends, even me, I'm 5 years. I went only twice. We must create something like a Facebook. Facebook now, everyone are with Facebook. No one is going to check every time the Students' Union email or whatever. So, create in Facebook a webpage, easy accessible, where mature students, the students that done placement, will be posting the importance of placement for those that didn't do placement, or for those that didn't do any volunteering job, or for those that are not members of any society. You must do this, guys, for your future, to get a job, because I've been through. I've done my placement in BP. I was working part-time last year, final year, I was working for Intexi, for a hard job. I know how they appreciate the volunteering job. You all must do this. And to transfer this to first and second year students, we must do this.
I'm going to hurry up now. Thank you.
Yeah, I finished.
Yeah, good, lovely. Sorry to cut you in mid-flow. Lewis, we finish off with you.
Okay, so for my CV, I am currently Events and Training Officer for Copperfield. I am also Social Sec for Musical Theatre. With both of these, we've had very successful events which I've helped co-run and run. For example, Boo Ball this weekend, which was a massive success. Last year, I was also nominated as most active society member at Student Awards. That just shows how much and how passionate I am about my societies I'm involved in. Not just my societies, but every society, to help and push each society. When looking at the prevention of debt, I think, like everyone else has said, it is important that we deal with this beforehand. I've stated that I want to have a closer contact with each society. So this way we can try and stop this before it happens. If this issue is starting to arise, then we can find a way to prevent this. Also, there is a funding which you can apply for, which you meet the VP societies and other people on a panel to discuss what can be done to actually get funding to support you if you are in debt. When looking at individual development, like they've said, I want to try and get out there, speak to the students. I can say what I want to do for individual development, but it's about you guys. We need to know what you want actually to take on the 1, 2, 3 go process. Get out there, find out what you want. Or put a questionnaire in the newsletter, find out actually what it is. Is it placement? Is it graduation? Is it career jobs? Is it just general student life that you feel you're struggling with? This is what we need to find out first before we can actually approach this and do anything about it.
Thank you. Right, finish with one last question. Again, you have to be absolutely brief. Okay, this is going to surprise some of you. At the end of January, the Students' Union had, in total, £70,000. That's all we had in the world. The clubs and societies, I have to give you the combined figure because we don't separate it, had the best part of £130,000. So actually, the sports clubs and societies are richer than the University of Surrey Students' Union. Why is it that these societies are raising money but not spending it? What should societies be spending their money on? Lewis.
Okay, so I think societies are worried about spending money. They don't want to spend the money to become in debt. Whereas I think sometimes you just have to spend the money on what you think is right. Each society sets out what they want to do. They get part of budget, they get their own funds. You need to go out there and spend what you think will benefit your society, your members, what will make you progress throughout the year and in the long term, if that's a long-term investment or even a short-term investment. These can all be big or small, it doesn't really matter, but I feel like you need to focus on what actually is the important thing with each society.
So why are they not spending their money?
I think it's possibly because you're scared. Societies are scared of losing the money or potentially not having the money for the committee next year. It's been brought up that they were left in debt and it wasn't a good situation to start off in. And I think a lot of societies are worried that current committee are worried that this will happen to next year's committee and they don't want to put them in a bad situation from the beginning of the year. Which...
All right, thank you very much. Andy, the clubs and societies are richer than the Students' Union. Why are they not spending their money? What should they be spending it on?
Really interesting question. I didn't know that statistic.
No, you didn't, because you
no.
didn't do your research.
So I've learnt something today. But I think that Lewis is absolutely right. Yeah, absolutely.
So Andy says vote for Lewis.
Well, actually, I think Lewis. Yeah, I mean, Lewis, out of the people here, in my opinion, is one of my favourite candidates to win this position. So, if you want to vote for Lewis, then vote for Lewis if you think he's the best candidate. In terms of the question, I think that societies are scared of spending their money, and more advice needs to be given to committees, and more assistive documentation needs to be given to committees that says these are intelligent ways to invest. These are ways to invest not to get a return financially, but to get a return from your members. Because, as we've said before, and as it's come up earlier today, the union, it's not about money. It's not about making money. A society isn't about making money. It's about giving opportunities, making people happy. And so more effort should be put into helping people to understand what makes a good investment.
Okay. Betty?
Okay, so I think that...
Sorry, 1 second, we can't hear. Yeah, we're okay now. Try that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I was just going to say that I think that if societies aren't spending their money, the thing is, whoever it is in the society, you know, the signatories who sort of take on the responsibility like that, they're responsible sometimes in a massive society for lots of members, and obviously their happiness is something that they're going to be worried about. So the decision on what to spend the money on, similar to what Lewis and Andy have said, really, is just that it's a lot of responsibility. They're worried that I think that they're not going to spend it on the right thing. They're not going to please everyone. What if it's a huge disaster and lands them in a lot of debt?
So what should they be spending their money on?
I think that to say universally what a society should spend the money on is going to differ between societies, but I think it's something that should be discussed with the entire society, then the signatories, and then again, and then with the VP. It's not a decision you can make in a very quick, rash way, and it's definitely something that the whole entire society, the members, everyone should be a part of for a decision like that.
Musty.
Am I on?
Sorry.
Okay, yeah.
Yep.
For me, it's so question is, what should societies be spending their money on because they're richer than the union, essentially. For me, it's a case of it needs to be highlighted to societies that they are not for profit. What I mean by that is, I found when I did research, found that the Students' Union is not for profit. For a long time, I've never known what that meant. When I did my research, found that it actually means the Student Union gets about, let's say, £800,000 a year. As Alan mentioned earlier, the expenditure of the Students' Union is £900,000 on so many different, activities. It could be bank charges, insurance, so many fixed costs and variable costs every year. So they need to make up £100,000 a year to operate as a union, which is why they have Rubiks, which is why they have chancellors, etc., etc. So they operate not for profit. Now, a lot of societies, they don't know this. They go into the society thinking, oh, our main objective needs to be to make money. We need to make money. We need to make money. And that's why they'll probably hold on to their money once they've made it so that it can make their bank balance look good. That's great, but that's not the objective of what societies are about. Societies are supposed to help individuals and give back to their members. So what societies need to be doing, and what needs to be included in committee training, is to let society members know, especially the signatories, that this society is not for profit, just as the Students' Union is not for profit, and encourage them by providing incentives for them to spend money on their members and give them the correct experience.
Thanks very much. Dimitri, we're closing with you.
Yes. Partially, I will agree with the 4 candidates, but not 100%. Indeed, we are for charity, and we are not for making money and putting those money into our pockets. And that's why the Students' Union is here. That's why Students' Union helps smaller societies with fundraising at the beginning of the year with more money, and let the bigger societies without money. I agree with that.
Okay, let me put a proposition to you. You're involved in a big society, runs great events, and you take all the door money. Would you support a tax on that income to fund smaller societies? Let's say 15% of your door money. Would you support something like that? If you want big societies to support small ones, should we tax the big ones? Just in the same way that the government taxes rich people, we could tax rich societies.
Of course, no. Okay, there are two answers to this question. One answer is, okay, I have the money, I have one event, I end up with £2,000, yeah? I will see, first of all, as a president of a particular society, not a VP societies, as a president of particular societies, I will think 2-3 things. One thing is make my members of my society happy. This is the one thing. Second thing, make most of the students happy. Put in the doors £3 entrance, not £5, not £7. Bring famous DJ that people likes to come. Yes, do charities. I will do this. But as a VP societies, then I will think differently. Okay, I have the money.
What's this? Do as I say, not as I do. You do as I say, not as I do. You'll think differently if you're VP societies. What do you think society should be spending their money on?
Each society separately.
Okay.
I'm asking each society separately what I think that must spend the money.
Okay.
The thing is, each society separately must spend the money, as I said before, for their members, first of all. For example, free food. Yeah, if the society is rich, make free food for everyone. Bring everyone. Yeah, why some of them you are laughing? Sometimes it's too difficult, and if your society has 5 members, they are 1 week to prepare this food, and they spend 1,000, 1,500. Make a charity. Bring recognition to this university, to your society, to your members, so the rest of the students will say, look, this society, what is doing. Help smaller society, of course, but not tax them. Not tax the smaller society. You must help the smaller society. Even if you have to pay from your society to help them to create an event, even if less people will end up and we have to pay back to the union, yeah, help those small society. Pay back to the union.
Thank you very much. We're going to have to wrap it up there. I just want to say, for a point of interest, we talk about own funds. USSU.co.uk, over to the right, sports and societies, log in, committee resources, bank statement. You, any student, can look up the bank statement of any sports club or any society in the Students' Union. You can see how much they've got in their account. You can see what they've paid for and how much they've paid. So if you are members of society or if you're just interested, have a little look, and you too can scrutinise your societies. It is all there to see. We are a full, open, transparent organisation. Right, you're all waiting to see the second part of the President campaign. That is all from me. I have to say what an absolute privilege it's been for you to have me tonight. Thank you very much for your attention, and thank you to the candidates of VP Societies. Good night.
You join us here in Pundits Corner with my fabulous pundits and of course the wonderful Sam from the Stag. So this year's VP Society's candidates have massive diversity in terms of experience. We have society presidents, we have active society members, academic reps. Ollie, do you feel that this experience gives them an advantage?
Of course, any candidate that's got experience in the realm of societies or within different commissions is going to have a distinct advantage. For me, I think it's Musty, is that the chap's nickname?
Yes.
I think he stood out for me as a candidate. You know, he even said hello to his mum at the start, so, you know, he's clearly confident in his own skin, which is great. You know, he's got ideas, he's got policies, so for me, he was a standout candidate, and he's got experience in the Afro-Caribbean society. You know, for me, if I were going to be voting, which I'm not, I'd be voting for him.
Oh, so Sam, is experience important to the people on Twitter?
Experience does seem to be important. It seems that the candidate who does, well, all of them mention experience to an extent, but what I've seen on Twitter is Betty Kelly's experience. People are talking about the experience in a good way, most people are, but then there's one particular tweet where I have to say, the experience of her setting up the baking society, perhaps, there's someone on Twitter criticising and saying it actually failed and it was restarted this year. So experience is important, but people fall on both sides of judging the candidates. Did they do a good job or a bad job in their experience?
Now, the Baking Society was mentioned in the first preset question about whether societies are too similar, like the Baking Society was compared to the Culinary Society. Where does the line, Mike, need to be drawn between societies that are too similar?
I think that's done mostly at society standing. For those who don't know, it's a sort of almost like a court, I guess, would be sort of a potential way of putting that. So you've got all sort of representatives from societies there. The proposer for the society comes along, they state their case, and they actually get grilled in a similar way to grill a SAB or sort of tonight's hustings about how they're going to run that society, and they get questioned, is it too similar to other societies? And I think you'll find that when they do come through and you sort of say, well, they might be similar, they will have had different objectives. So I think that's sort of down almost to the students, making sure that they send the suitable representative to society standing to make sure that we don't end up with sort of a ridiculous number of societies all about the same thing.
Now, Chris, you're the Society's Executive Chairman this year.
That's right.
Do you think the VP societies should actually be encouraging societies that are slightly differing in aims to become ratified?
Well, certainly if they've got different aims, they should be ratified. It's where they have similar aims which might cause contention. There have been a few societies which have come up in recent society standings which have basically overlapped other societies. And it's important for whoever's chairing that meeting, whether it's the society's chairman or whether it's VP societies, whoever is running it gives a fair case to say, you know, this society is basically that society. There's no point having two societies exactly the same. It's just not fair for one society which is already existing. So,
well, it could actually be a positive thing for societies with slightly differing aims, but kind of similar to currently ratified societies. For example, StagTV was formed, Mad TV, it was ratified as the Society Mad TV out of MadSoc at the time, and, you know, look at StagTV now, it could be a positive thing for similar societies to be ratified. What do you think on this, Mike? Obviously...
well, I think StagTV is a slightly different issue because Mad TV was originated by members of MadSoc.
Yeah.
And it sort of started up within that and then branched out. So there wasn't actually really a sort of competitive market, so to speak. I think the potential issue comes about where you've got societies who they have the same aims or very similar aims. I think, to be honest, that sort of musical theatre societies and sort of the dramatic societies almost come into this category where they're all competing for a certain pot of funding, and I think that's where the issue comes about. I mean, it's always going to come down to money in relation to how much we can actually get out of sort of societies and bits and pieces. Now, money's not everything, and I know a lot of students sort of...
Try telling Charlie, you know.
Yeah. But, I mean, money's not everything because sort of societies will always try and do whatever they can. But it is about the aims, and it is about just making sure that we don't sort of waste resources necessarily on multiple societies with similar... We don't want to waste resources on societies with the same aims, but it's okay, I think, when they have differing aims.
Yeah, I mean, you only have a certain amount of, you know, money in the pot. You know, if you have a lot of societies which are, you know, the same, then that's a lot less money in the pot. You know, it's down to the societies which go to society standing. Is this really a society which needs to be ratified? Is there a need for it? If there's not a need for it, should it really exist? Because our society will get less money for it. So.
And now they were talking at the end there, speaking of money, about taxing bigger societies. Well, what do you think on this, Chris?
I mean, at the end of the day, societies earn their own funds by putting on larger events. I think it would be unfair to tax societies which are successful, you know, which put on large events in Rubik's, for example, get a lot of money in through that. A lot of these societies invest the money straight back into the society. I feel a sign of a successful society comes in with some money and leaves on the same level of budget, you know, so say it starts off with 200 quid one year, leaves to about 200 quid, maybe 250. It's where you've got disparity, so, you know, you start for 200, you leave with 1,000. That's not good.
Now, Ollie, the role of VP societies and individual development obviously has those two components. It's not just about the societies, it's also representing students' individual development. Do you believe that any of those candidates would concentrate on individual development from what you saw tonight?
Just before I go to the individual development, I had a good gag on the Baking Society. It came around in its second sort of incarnation. You almost might say, given it's a baking society, it had to prove itself twice. No laughter. Okay.
We'll get you out on the front.
Yeah, I know. I could crack jokes. Yeah. No, it's always a very difficult one. I think perhaps it was Mike who said earlier that we should just chop up. No, I think it was Osama before he left. I might be grasping him up here, but we should almost sort of get rid of the individual development side of the role, or the name within the context of that position, because nobody ever focuses on that. So, you know, you're talking about training courses and, you know, opportunities for people to listen to good speakers, as one of the candidates was talking about last night, and that never seems to happen, to be honest with you. So, you know, individual development should be part of the remit of every single officer, not necessarily just the VP societies.
See, I disagree with that. I think the societies in themselves have the opportunities in there for individual development. And I think that the
But it's the officers of that society, surely, that should be promulgating
those
opportunities.
I think the VP of societies and individual development should be making sure that they take on sort of the responsibilities that, I mean, for instance, with StagTV, sort of members come in and they get trained up by how to use the equipment. If there's an issue with training, if they need sort of training in new equipment or different bits and pieces, then it should be sort of a position that they can go to their VP and say, look, we don't have the opportunity to... We want to go and see what a real TV studio is like. Their VP then has the weight of the whole union behind it to go and say, well, yeah, okay, I'll look into sorting something out. I mean, they're not miracle
Mike,
workers.
though, you did that without having the vice president for societies and individual development, you know, behind you. You know, for me, it's almost a semantic issue. Societies do that anyway, so it should be the job of the VP societies to support the activities of that society. From that flows individual development, as we've seen through yourself. You're a marvellous joke teller and presenter now, and all the guys who are behind the cameras here who are doing sterling work. You know, that hasn't come about because the VP Societies has had some great sort of hit on individual development. It's just come about because that is the nature of the beast of society.
But the VP Societies did enable us to get to where we are.
Yeah, of course, but that wasn't about individual development, that was about societies.
Well, I'll ask Chris here, do you feel that individual development side of the VP Society's role is neglected?
I certainly feel like it is neglected quite a fair bit. However, as these two chaps have mentioned, you know, you can get individual development through your societies. I mean, if societies were to be able to provide qualifications which you could get for, say, for example, St John's, you could get a first aid qualification. That's certainly individual development. I feel as VP societies and ID, it might be tough to focus on an individual development sort of campaign. And yeah, I do believe that it should be a focus of more sabbatical officers. I mean, certainly for, say, for example, welfare, education, sports, there's so much individual development. If you look at the definition of individual development, all that the SABs, all of them can provide. You know, it doesn't necessarily have to stay with societies.
Just a quick one, can I ask two questions? One, why are you not running? Because it sounds like you've got a manifesto there. And two, you know, is there scope for siphoning out the individual development aspects of this role and potentially making that a part-time officer position?
Well, with these individual development roles, I mean, we used to have a volunteering coordinator, works quite closely with Do More. That's certainly an individual development. Obviously, with lack of funding for the Students' Union, unfortunately, we had to let go of our volunteering coordinator. But it's certainly something which I feel like it could be brought back up. I mean, there's definitely scope for it, I'd say.
Well, it's certainly a part that the VP societies could potentially look into if they were elected. Now, we're going to cross back up to Rubik's right now. Yes, for the big one, the part 2 of the President debate. And then you can join us back down here for our last Pundits Corner of the night, and in fact, question time this year.